Welcome to the In My Opinion show with Ronald Berry Robinson and friends. With us, we have Miss Denise Smith Allen. Welcome to the In My Opinion show, Miss Allen.
Thank you, Ronald.
We have Mr. Henry Hatter. Henry, welcome to the In My Opinion show.
Thank you, Ronald.
Let's talk about children murderers. What can we as a society do to stop these horrific killings and abuse of our nation's babies? The headlines, it seems, daily are full of mothers killing their babies by various methods. To name a few, placing their babies in microwave ovens, drowning them while strapped to seat belts, starvation, poisons, stabbings, setting them on fire, scalding them with caustic substances or hot water, beatings, or rape killings. This list is endless. Some even say they killed their children because they heard voices and were instructed to kill and a host of other evil and subhuman things. But these heinous acts are just not limited to mothers. Fathers, boyfriends, uncles, brothers, relatives, neighbors, friends are doing some of the same heinous things to these babies. I'll tell you what I would do to these animals. The last voice they would hear would be mine saying, turn the gas on or turn up the electricity on the electric chair. Or we could do what the Chinese do. No trial, no mercy, simply one bullet to the back of the head. Maybe some of this madness would stop. If you don't want children, first of all, don't have them. There's laws on the books that say you can leave your unwanted children at a hospital, police station, etc., etc. Denise, what is your thoughts on this?
Well, one of the things I look at now, because we're seeing more and more of this information being put in the media, we have people who are drug addicted. We have people who have mental health issues. And because of that, I think this is a symptom by seeing all these killings of whatnot, of the manifestation of that, the drug abuse and, being involved with the videos, there was a time when people would sit for hours and play the video games, and those games were violent in nature, and it kind of desensitized our youth. And now those youths now are parents, and because they have become parents prematurely, they're not able to deal with the fact that, outside of dressing the baby up and making the baby look cute, you've got to feed this baby, you've got to care for this baby, you've got responsibility. Now, that's overwhelming for a lot of the mothers and the fathers. I do not justify, and I'm not justifying their behaviors. Their behaviors are absolutely heinous. But the bottom line is, without being prepared and being involved with drugs and alcohol, they are susceptible to doing just about anything. One of the things that I've noticed, because I supervise a female caseload, and I'm finding that the women that are on my caseload have mental health issues and they have drug issues. And a lot of them are homeless. Mm-hmm. So not to say that they should not be held accountable for taking care of their families, but when you're looking at all the various things that are going on with them, we as a society have to step in and go back to this issue of taking care of the village. And we've gotten away from that because we're afraid of dealing with our neighbors. We're afraid of dealing with our young parents because they're susceptible to going off, wanting to become violent with you or cussing you out and that kind of thing. But we still have to, begin to engage them and try to bring them into the fold. Otherwise, it's not going to get better. It's going to get worse.
Absolutely. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Henry, what is your thoughts?
I'm impressed with Denise's perspective here. I think that a lot of what she says is very true. But I'm sad when we talk about the killings of kids, dropping kids on their heads, and stuff like that. Absolutely. I mean, kids that are several months old. And what can I say that could justify such an action? I can't. Mm-hmm. So I have to sit here in judgment of what I hear. Mm-hmm. And there must be reasons why people do that. There must be causes. Mm-hmm. There must be, but no justification, but there are reasons why they do that. And I don't want to say it's insanity, mm-hmm. and I don't know, I can't always explain why people would do that. I know that it's probably a lot has to do with what you've already explained, mm-hmm. videos, violence, drugs, homelessness, and so on and so forth. but that's no reason for killing a baby.
No.
I'm sorry. I very, I'm stuck in the mud here because I can't get out, because I don't accept those as excusable reasons for killing a baby or a child. So I would, and Ron said that maybe he suggested a couple ways to deal with it, but that's too harsh. We're human beings. They did those kind of things in pre-biblical times.
Well, maybe we should revisit pre-biblical times. I mean, because it doesn't seem like it's going away. Every time we turn on the television or pick up a newspaper, there's these heinous acts that somebody's done to these helpless children, all right? I don't care if they're if crazy, all right, or on drugs, okay, or they had a horrible family background and they were abused. Okay, we got to take responsibility. My opinion is, when it comes to babies, I don't know if I could accept anything less than, hey, look, they got to be exterminated when they harm these innocent children.
Well, you and I are somewhat on the same vein, but I don't go that far.
It might seem barbaric, but what is it that they're doing to these children? Isn't what they're doing barbaric?
Absolutely,
okay. Yeah.
Absolutely. But again, I'm saying that you're still dealing with people who have mental health issues that may not have been addressed. Okay, and when you've got somebody who may, because of whatever their experiences in life, they grow up to a point where they are indulging in sex and they have children, and they've never dealt with this mental health issue, then the child comes and it exacerbates the mental health issue. Okay. Now, they may have family members who knew that this person may not have been dealing with the full deck, but yet they didn't support that person or help that person make a decision about, maybe you should put the child up for adoption, or, the family take the child, or whatever. They allowed certain things to take place. And then there are those who have children and may have moved away from the family. Okay, so they don't have a family support. So they become overwhelmed, and then next thing you know, they're doing something that they regret. They may have started off spanking. It got out of control. Next thing you know, they've done something. They're afraid to let the police know because they feel like they're going to get in trouble. So therefore, they do something and, they get rid of their child. There's no justification. It's a horrible thing. It's a horrible thing. And I can't stress that enough, to see any child abused and hurt. Or
You
killed.
stall me at the point where you say, and some of this might come from mental problems.
Yes.
See, I can't get past that, but I can get up to there and say, well, there's still no excuse, except once a person has been proven to have mental illness that would cause such a heinous act. But other than that, there's no reason for killing a child, in my opinion. I don't care what your circumstance is, where you live, how you've been treated during your lifetime. And I can go back and prove to you, by statistically, that many African Americans were really abused in the old days. But yet they never picked up a gun, and they never killed anybody. And nor did they ever drop babies on their head. They never killed babies.
I disagree with that. I disagree with that, because the Middle Passage, as people were coming over here to this country, there were mothers who either threw their babies over or jumped over on the other side because
you've gone beyond the grasp of our conversation.
Oh, not really.
Yeah.
Okay, but you took it there, so I'm
But
bringing it to
I'm talking about
historical point here.
But I'm talking about American experiences just within our lifetime. But I didn't want to get on a tangent there, but I just want to let you know that there were circumstances, and I know how my mothers and aunts and uncles and friends took care of us and stuff like that, even in the worst of times.
Absolutely.
And they never gave their kids away, and they never. And I'm sure that you have the same experience, and you have the same experiences. And we never went out and killed someone. We didn't have reasons for killing people. Those were
We had reasons, but we had the strength not to
Okay,
act
put it the
on
way you
that-
want
on
to. You
those
can dress
urges.
it up, but
Okay.
we had a value system that helped us to govern to go through those kind of things.
And I think that that's probably one of the most important things that's missing right now in today's society, the value system. When you were coming up, you had your immediate family, whoever they may have been, whether it was a mother or father or your siblings or whatever. But there were certain things that were instilled in you, the right and wrongness of it.
See, you know, what we're
Okay.
talking about right now, Denise, is what the learned people in America and the majority of people don't know. They don't know that if you take and compare how they treat people today, everybody has a reason for why they do what they did. But you don't go back far enough to study the mentality and the move of African Americans under these very, very depressed circumstances. And you probably know about how it was and a situation in the 30s and the 40s
Of course,
and the 20s and so
of
on and so
course.
forth. When people were expunged from their homes, the men were just treated very badly. The women were.
Okay.
Then we had kids in both races as a result of what was going on, but yet we never killed our babies. We never, not even the men, when they knew that the babies weren't theirs. So now, all of a sudden, in this time, we've heard from Dr. Spock and all of those who say, well, there are circumstances where you have to forgive people who kill.
Yeah, but
Okay,
Spock
but here's-
didn't know his ass from a hole in the ground because his son committed suicide.
Okay. And in the 30s, there wasn't crack cocaine.
Oh,
Okay.
oh, that was heroin, though.
But there was. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
But there's a different response to the drugs.
But you still have a choice as to whether you want to take that stuff or not.
all of this comes down to a choice if you have a rational being. See, that's the thing that we're missing on this conversation. Is you're talking rational. You're talking about your life experiences and the experiences of those that grew up in your community and during the time
All
period.
of us are born rational, theoretically.
Theoretically,
Most of us, 90% are born rational.
Theoretically, I can't argue that point.
Okay.
All I can say to you is that you're born into a system, or you're born into the family that you're born into, and that family raised you up with certain things or the lack thereof. And what we're finding now, particularly in this era that we're dealing with, is that there's been a generation who basically abdicated their responsibility. And I'll say it like that because I don't know how old your children. I have adult children.
I have
Okay.
adult kids.
And so I'm looking at the adult children and I'm saying that the ones, and there's probably names for them, there's Generation Y, and we are the baby boomers, okay? But then you have Generation Y who has had the children who are the
Or X.
millennials.
X.
The millennials,
Yeah.
okay? And this is what you're dealing with now, the
Yeah.
millennials, the children
okay.
who are coming up now. They didn't get the stuff that they needed from the Generation Y. And again, we're not blaming anything, but I'm just saying there were pieces that were missing. And see, I always go back to cultural things, okay? Because right now we're talking about society as a whole, but if we go back, if you're going to speak specifically about African Americans, I say
I was just in a site.
yeah, but I say
conversation.
that in reference to us not passing on certain things to teach our young men how to be respectful, you know, how to treat women, how to treat their brothers and sisters, okay? And the same thing with the females. Because as you find out, if you look around, you read the paper, you look in any of these schools today, you'll find a lot more of the girls are fighting. Why are they fighting? Because they're angry. They're angry because they don't have that male support, that male bonding that they should have had, you know, because the way I see it, the parents are the first teachers, okay? If the father is not, you know, loving and caring or whatever, he's teaching her certain things, whether it's good or bad, but he's teaching her certain things in terms of how to deal with the relationship. The same thing is happening with the boys.
This is no speculation, is it? This is something that has been tested and proven.
Oh, absolutely.
That the absence of the male in the home create these kind of attitudes.
The absence of the balance,
Yeah.
whether the male is in the
And,
home or
I
not.
agree with you.
Whether
too.
whether he's
I
in the
do.
home or not, the balance is what
I
I'm
just
talking
wanted to
about.
ask a question to create doubt and see if you would stand
No,
firmly on.
I'm very firm on that
Okay,
one. It's
all right.
look, whether he's there or not, it would be ideal, because I believe, and from my spiritual background, I say, it's the balance. God created us to be a family, male, female, in the home, raising up children. Okay, but life happens. People don't always stay together. But as long as the custodial parent is not so angry and turned off that they won't allow that child to have that balance with that parent that doesn't live in the home, then there's the problem.
But how do we get out? Now, you put a question, a problem to be solved on the table. We're no closer to it now than we were when you first introduced the subject.
Right.
What do we do?
Well, here's the thing. I don't believe that we have a one idea or one solution to this problem. We have many solutions to the problem.
You have to start someplace and
Again, I say, where does anything start when it comes down to individuals? It comes down to home. What is home looking like? And now you'll find if you go to a lot of these homes, you will be appalled at what you see.
yes.
Oh, yes.
Appalled. In that environment, a little child, whether it's boy or girl, and they're getting called out of their name, and they're still in diapers, and they're told that they're basically no good, this, that, and the other, By the time they're 12 or 13 years old and they're in school and they're having all these kind of problems where they can't adjust, then that anger and that rage that's inside them is going to turn outwards, and it's going to, the person that's closest to them is going to receive the brunt of that.
It's going to explode.
It's going to explode.
That has not been tested and has not been proven. I can assure you. Now, listen to me.
Tested and proven by who?
Just let me put my point, and then you can argue.
Okay.
I remember that happened to many, many people who were African American by the school system, by society. They said that they couldn't learn, that they were would never have jobs and stuff like that. But yet we overcame it, and we that did not affect our movement up to become successful in society.
But isn't
It
that
just impeded us. But so my point is that those kind of things are not necessarily the reason why people fail. Because people were told that they couldn't exceed, or they couldn't have this, because we never let that bother us. The kids today might be much more sensitive.
But we
to it.
came
We
onto a
did.
totally different generation.
Well, no
right?
excuses.
No excuses.
The
but,
things
but
are
it
still-
was a totally different generation. Our value systems were totally different. All right? Because our parents' value
I think the
systems
value
were
system
were
is
different.
really
It's
the key.
the key. It
Yeah.
is the key.
That's the conversation that binds us together too, and the same things. We have those as a common denominator, and so I believe we're converging onto something that makes sense. At least it does to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm not here to sit and make excuses about any of the behavior and the heinous acts that are going on. But I'm trying in my way to help us understand that the problem is not going to go away until we look at all of the various factors that contribute to the problem. Okay? Because there are a lot of things that have contributed to this. And like I said, now when I look at my own caseload and I look at the fact, and I can give you one example. I saw a young lady in jail yesterday, who had been homeless for 10 years. Okay? And how did she conduct herself? She lived off the street, and she did what she had to do out there in the street. And I don't have to go into the detail. But the point is, when she talked to me about her children, she told me, she says, I'm not a fit parent. And I had to give my kids up. I commend her for doing that. You understand? But the reality is, as I talked to her, I could see clearly that she had some mental health issues. Okay? And those things needed to be addressed. And I don't know if you've seen the movie Precious. If either one of you seen that, you need to see that. It's a good one. But I just am amazed that, we can sit here and think about how horrible these things are and say, okay, we can kill them off and that person would be eliminated and he wouldn't or she wouldn't do that particular thing. But what happens to the next one? Do you think
Well,
that's
it's
going to be
generational, I
yeah,
think,
do you think that's going to be a deterrent? I say no.
No.
I say no. It's not going to be a deterrent. I say that we have to help engage people to say, look, I have a problem. I have a problem, whether it's mental illness or drug addiction, or it's generational from all the ancestral things and all this other stuff that has taken place. I have a problem that I've got to deal with. And if I don't deal with this situation, it may come out on me being harmful to myself or to the children that I bring into this world.
Absolutely.
Denise, why is it that in some other circumstances or societies that they have a much lower crime rate than the United States? I'm trying to go back and think about the book that I read about Japan. I think they have an incident rate of 1 out of 35 for homicide out of so many million people. But I think it reduces down to 1 out of 35.
You get back to the value systems.
Culturally, certain things are not accepted in their culture.
No, okay. And then in China, it's the same thing, and even in some of the countries down south of the border, the same way.
And African culture.
And yet here we talk about all of the components that complicate an individual's mindset, that we need to go in and do research to find out what we need to put this person back on the road to recovery, to become a productive human being. But yet, in those countries, they don't have that. I was in China just a couple of years ago, and the country's stable, and they do a lot of things together. I don't have to feel like if I were walking down a Chinese street that I would be mugged or killed. You know, and yet Americans say, well, this is life, this is the way it is, and we have to live with this. And I don't know how long a democracy can survive with, as you say, the growing populations of outlawedness. You know, I just don't know. And people are concerned about it. I know that Ron reads about it all, every show, and we see these statistics in schools and so on and so forth. And we don't have any place to put all of our prisoners.
Yeah, and we're releasing them as a matter of fact.
See, the reason China and Japan do not have these problems is because over the years they've dealt harshly, with these situations. Just like I was watching CNN earlier today. Okay, those people that were in charge of I forget the name of melamine or whatever that was in the candy and baby formulas and stuff that killed all those babies. They executed those people today or yesterday. All right, that's probably, I imagine that's I think maybe I was alluding to that, to that way. Yeah, it's barbaric, okay, but over years they have established what to expect. All right. You screw up, you kill people, okay, well then you're going to lose your life too.
Yeah,
okay?
I want to go back and talk about Denise's point here that supports your point. In Japan, life is in this order. First family, then community, and then country. Family they give credence to. They put importance on it. It's sacred to them. Would you say the same kind of culture exists in this country?
It used to.
But no.
No.
Okay.
I think our family has really disintegrated. We have, like I said, if you talk to the millennials, I'll call them that, the younger.
We call them the Y generation.
Yeah, the Ys are the younger adults. But what we're finding is they have a major disconnect. They have a major disconnect as far as family, because the family, for one thing, it's not uncommon for maybe mother to get drugs from son, okay? Or son and father to sit down and smoke together. I mean, these are the extreme cases. Now, if you've got a community and you've got 10% of those people doing stuff like that, that's too much. Because they have friends and they have a sphere of influence. And when they go to school and they talk about the things that they are doing and they're getting away with, then that child who's at home and they're having a decent upbringing that we would, ascribe to, they hear that. And depending on how strong-minded they are, they can either be influenced or help influence this other person to say that there's another way. You understand? So we've got those folks that are at the crossroads. Okay. But, this, like I said, I like this discussion because I think these are the kind of discussions we need to have on a regular basis about what's going on in our community.
Well, you're the professional. You're engaged in that kind of activity, so you would have a much more broader approach to solutions to the problems.
Yeah.
We are on the outside looking in.
But
we deal with them from different perspectives.
But we're not on the outside.
No,
we're right in the middle of this.
But she deals with caseloads.
I deal with caseloads, but here's my thinking. You in the position that you hold a position that young people can, aspire to be like. You can certainly influence them as you sit down and talk to the young males and females that you come in contact with about your situation, how you came to where you are today, and you're still growing. You have other things that you may do before the end of your journey. But the point about it is we've had this disconnect where we haven't sat down and told the story.
Denise, I appreciate what you said because I don't often get that, but she's exactly right. I do feel an obligation to sit down and talk to kids about this. Mm-hmm. And I hope I didn't give you an impression otherwise, but it's just that I'm insensitive to people who kill.
It's called being a role model, Henry and Denise.
Yeah.
This has been a wonderful conversation, but unfortunately it's too short. But we must bring the In My Opinion show to a close. I want to thank Miss Denise Smith Allen and Mr. Henry Hatter. This is Ronald Berry